I'm going to show you a video of the fact, and after you watch it, I'm going to tell you some more context about the fact, and I want to know what you think.
Forbes did a study. People who stay at jobs for longer than 2 years make essentially 50% less their entire lifetime.
Forbes did a study. If you stay at your job for more than 2 years, you will make 50% less over your lifetime. Ergo, if you want to make money, you should be switching jobs every 2 years. Lord, that sounds exhausting. Every 2 years? Can you imagine being on the job search every 2 years? I actually can't. It's kind of like what being a consultant is like. It's exhausting. But I digress. Let's dig into this fact. First, let's unpack the term study. I guess the term study could be used loosely, or maybe, in economics and markets, I don't even know, so beyond my field, right? Maybe this will count as a study, but if I were reporting this, I might say Forbes wrote an article where they did some math. And as a fun bonus, you see that in this article it has this like little red clock looking thing that says, hey, this article is more than 9 years old. Like they're flagging for you that it's outdated. It was written in 2014. So in 2014, based on some math that people at Forbes did, employees who stayed in companies longer than 2 years will get paid 50% less. In 2014, based on some math. And in that sense, the person who's talking in this video, accurate. This is what it says. Staying employed at the same company for over 2 years on average is going to make you earn less over your lifetime by about 50% or more. And I'm telling you throughout this article, they really drive home the fact that making 50% less is a conservative estimate. So how do they get this number? Well, first they tell you that the average raise that an employee can expect in 2014 is 3%. And they provide a link to where this number came from. Spoiler alert, it links to an article in USA Today, where they say that a compensation consultant, Towers Watson, did a survey of more than 900 mid to large size companies, and they said that on average, raises at their companies will be 3%. Now, I get that people hear average and think good, but oh, it's average. But do you find the average of a mysterious group of companies where you don't know the industry or the roles compelling? Personally, I don't. I think this is something that would vary by a bunch of different factors, and I would want to know the full context that went into that average. The second key data point here is that if you switch your job, the raise will be on average between 10 and 20%. They don't tell us where that number came from. No idea. It's a mystery. So based on these two data points, one that came from this mysterious survey of more than 900 mid to large size companies, and the other that comes from who knows where, Forbes made this nifty little chart that shows, assuming your career will last 10 years, which what? Okay, assuming your career lasts 10 years, here's what would happen. Here's the difference in income, right? Because you're only going to go up 3% every year staying at the same place. But if you switch every 2 years, you'll go up 10% each time you switch. The 50% comes from mathing this out over 10 years, looking at two parallel tracks, one where every year the person's income is going up by 3%, one where the person's income goes up by 3% in the first year, and then 10% when they switch jobs, then 3%, then 10%, and this equals 50% less. So one question I have is this a study? Do people think this is a study? Should I think this is a study? This, to me, is not actually based on people's real experiences. That's one problem, right? Because I didn't actually go out and find people who had switched careers every 2 years or multiple times, and people who'd stayed in the same career at the same company and compare how their incomes are, right? And I get it, this would be a difficult study to set up. So because it's really more hypothetical, another question I have is this true? Because the data is not based on real people or real experiences, so we can't actually know if it's true. And then the third question I have is, should we care? This was in 2014. Per usual, I would just hate for someone to see a statement like that and think, oh my gosh, if I don't switch my job every 2 years, I'm not going to make as much money in my lifetime. And I really want to make more money. So if I really want to make more money every 2 years, I need to job hop.
The thing is you need to be either up or out every 2 years. Every 2 years, you need to be getting a 10 to 15% promotion at a minimum every 2 years. Otherwise, you need to leave. You need to go somewhere that's going to pay you. Because if you're not doing that, you're going to be making less.
Notice the nuance that just came out that contradicts the first stat, right? It says up or out. Not if you don't change every 2 years, you're going to make less. You need to be going up or getting it. To me, every 2 years feels arbitrary. Why is it not every 1 year? Maybe it should be every 3 years. It's not actually based on science. I don't think it's bad advice that if you feel you're working really hard and should be moving up and getting a raise or getting a promotion and you're not, that you should leave. I don't think that's bad advice at all. But it's, to me, just being tainted by the fact that we're using this weirdly outdated, doesn't feel that scientifically founded stat in the beginning to grab people and draw them in. Like, why does this video even need to open up with this 50% stat from 2014? I would argue not based on a study. Like, honestly, that just really annoys me. Like, this happens all the time on TikTok. It's like, here, let me give you this, like, shocking statistic to, like, really catch you and reel you in. And then, like, surprise, it's not even true. It's like the dang flamingo thing all over again. And what I dislike about it is, to me, your credibility as a creator now, like, down. Like, where is my trust in you? Because you're tricking me into listening to you by giving me a stat that sounds really important and sounds accurate and feels true. And so now I want to listen to what you have to say. If you want to leave your job and get a different job that pays more, do it. But don't do it because you think that over your lifetime, which this article defines as only a 10-year career, you're going to make 50% less if you don't.